But what it does, I like to say it's freedom, not force. It allows these ratepayers that value and can afford renewable energy to do so, but not impose the cost upon the others. So it protects that ratepayer choice, protects freedoms, and it also lowers the financial burdens of renewable energy mandates that force it upon everyone else. Now, this is a novel concept. This is the exact slide that I took out so that legislators wouldn't see this. Now, picture this. You walk into a grocery store, and you're in the grocery store line, and you're at the checkout stand. And the checkout person says, "Oh, you know what? You're going to have to go to the back of the line." Why? Well, 25% of your groceries aren't from organic sources. So you're going to have to go back to the back of the line. Now, that seems ridiculous. You know, we can kind of sit back and chuckle, well, that's never going to happen. Well, it did happen with electricity. The state government is telling you that you have to purchase your electricity from a source you may not be able to value and you may not be able to afford. And that's what they're doing. Now, I pulled this slide out because I can see the next bill coming up, Senate Bill 839, imposing organic food requirements upon Oregonians, and I'd hate to give them any more ideas. So I pulled this slide out, but I like to show this because it is my analogy, for whatever it's worth, on what have we done to allow these legislators. Where have we gone? Now, it's not this group, because you guys are active, but the rest of Oregonians have sat back, remained ignorant on this issue, I'm going to say that, and have allowed these legislators to take away their freedom and force them to purchase a certain good. Now, if someone wants wind energy, that's fine with me. I'm not anti-wind energy. Just I'm not anti-smart cars. I can't put my right leg into them, so I would never purchase one. But then again, I look at a guy who drives a Hummer, and I chuckle as well, saying, man, he must spend a lot in gas money. But ultimately, we have that choice. We have that freedom in America to purchase those and ultimately deal with the consequences and the costs of our actions. That's why America is a great country. But in Oregon, we don't have that freedom with electricity. You are forced to purchase this. Now, as we see here, now these are some data, 2006 is the latest figures, but ultimately the renewable energy program, for the most part, is increasing participation rate. Now, the city of Portland, these are old figures, is at about 10%. 10% is the highest in the nation. So apparently Portland loves renewable energy. Now, when people say, well, where should renewable energy be at in Portland? I said, well, it should be at 10%. It's not a novel concept. It should be related on voluntary demand. Just as organic food is done, it can increase according to voluntary demand without forcing that upon other folks. Now, I did take these ones out as well because it wasn't applicable, but I noticed that after I do these types of presentations, I leave people usually on that note, and they say, well, Todd, you came in here and you impressed me, and you told me about how it's going to be so horrible and how, you know, Salem legislators are taking away our freedoms left and right. Yes, I did do that. But just so you know, Cascade Policy Institute is working, I would say it's close to 7 days a week, on fighting back against these things. And we do it in a number of ways. I say freedom lobbyists, but obviously lobbyists kind of comes with a negative connotation. So if you don't like that word, use freedom consultants. Okay? We do. We work directly with legislators to introduce bills that decrease the size of government, peel back some of the layers of government on the energy sector, and we also work to destroy bills. Oftentimes I am down in Salem not only just because I'm trying to promote a bill that increases individual rights, but also because I'm there to kill a bill that's trying to increase government as well. We're also media gurus. You'll see a lot of our publications, as my bio showed. We get published all across the state. Now, obviously, we're always trying to reach out to new media venues. So if you guys know of a new newspaper or an old one that hasn't printed an article in a while, let us know as well, and we'll try to get it in there. But what this part of our, mission is to educate the electorate, all Oregonians, on the merits of individual rights and limited government. And we do that through publishing our articles and op-eds, commentaries, the works in newspapers. We get on radio, we get on TV, all across the state and the nation promoting this mission. But we're also speakers, educators, and presenters. As you can tell, we come to a lot of these meetings. And we'd like to come down here again and talk to you about other issues, education, tax and budget, anything you can possibly think of. What we do is we come down here, I don't care if it's even 5 or 10 people. If there are 5 or 10 active people that take this information and spread that to 5 or 10 other people, then I've accomplished my mission. So that's what we do to spread the word on this. Now, what can you do to help? Obviously, one of the first ones is join an organization, which you guys have already done. You're with Americans for Prosperity, which is a fantastic one. We work hand in hand with AFP to get out information, kind of show the battlefield in Salem as you speak, to let you guys know, arm you with the intellectual ammunition so you can hold your legislators accountable, which I hope that you're doing. And that's the next point. Now, I know most of you guys are politically active, but if your legislator, your representative, your state senator doesn't know you by name and isn't annoyed by your emails or your phone calls, then he needs to be, or she needs to be. They need to know you by name. They need to know that you are holding them accountable in the decisions that they make. And that helps a lot. Don't think just because you send that one email, you say, oh, it's just not worth it. No. You know what it reminds me of? And I tried to find it before this presentation, but I can't find it anymore. I saw it was a cartoon. It was in like a Sunday newspaper, and there was a guy standing there, and he had a little, those little bottles. He says, I'm only one voice, what can I do? And then the next little panel was like 5 or 6 people, I'm only one voice, what can I do? And then the next panel, it was thousands of people, and everyone was saying, I'm only one voice, what can I do? Okay? You are only one voice. But there's so many AFPers in the state, so many freedom lovers in the state. We bond together and we do that. We send those emails, we make those phone calls, and we take information like this and fire it back at them. We'll hold them accountable and less damage will be done at least. That's the positive spin on things. And ultimately, this is my cheap plug, support freedom-fighting organizations. Now, I mean that just mental support, saying, Todd, you did a pretty good job today. It was okay. It was a decent presentation. But also support with financial resources as well. $5, $2, $10, whatever you can spare goes a long ways in this battle. We know that we're up against big forces, teachers unions, public employee unions, that have lots of money. We don't even need a fraction of that to fight them because we're more dedicated and we have facts on our side. So, the final thing is, the result of these policies is going to lead to significant economic harm in the future. Just to let you know, to give a positive thing, part of it, Cascade is working every day on it, including myself. Every single day, I'm trying to turn this around and put us on the right path. Now, I can take any questions you may have, but ultimately, before I take questions, I got a lot of stuff over here I don't want to go home with. I don't want to take it with me, I don't want to increase my gasoline consumption. We hate those greenhouse gases. We don't want any of those, right? So take everything here. It's all free. And also sign up on the mailing list because we want you all on there so you guys can stay informed. And I'm going to pass it around because it's my way of like strong-arming you into signing up. But I can take any questions on either the legislative session, what's happened, but mainly energy environmental issues. My main ones, which are kind of disappointing because I see them as fairly unimportant, is I fought the plastic bag ban in the state and also the ban on bisphenol A. That was my major ones this session.
What would happen, do you think it's possible, or what would you foresee happening if we were to just completely go to a laissez-faire where we said the state will not make any type of law concerning energy except to make sure that nobody infringes on the rights of other people and just let them all compete with each other? You know,
ultimately that is what I'm working towards every day. The energy market, if anybody knows it, is heavily regulated. Utilities are really an extension of government, a government-created monopoly. So it's a difficult task to get to that point. I'd like to get to that point and I'd like to see it. Where will the cards lay if it's an ultimate free market in energy? I'm not sure. And I don't really need to know the solution to that because with all the decentralized decision-making going on by individuals, the proper amount of costs and benefits of both environmental impacts, affordability, and reliability of power will be matched, and that's what the free market does.
Yeah, I've got a question for you. Say that they took the hydro off of the renewable energy. Well, all I've read this spring was that the amount of water that Bonneville is getting, that they're not going to take this electricity from the wind people and put it on the grid because they just don't have the facilities to do that.
Yeah.
So what does that do to this? As of certain dates, you're going to have 25% of renewable energy. Now, are they going to make them stop dumping the water?
You brought up a good issue. I'm glad you brought that one up. If you haven't been reading the news, Bonneville Power Administration, kind of the federal regulatory authority for the Bonneville dams, has noticed an issue which I've been talking about for a couple of years now, and they finally start publicizing that there's an issue with it. there's too much wind energy on the grid right now. And currently what we do when the wind turbines blow, we shut down the hydroelectric dams, which is kind of funny because you're replacing renewable energy for renewable energy in a sense. But it's created a problem because it rains so darn much in Oregon that the dams fill up, and it fills up to a certain level that they have to spill water over the dams, and it creates environmental impacts on fisheries. Where is it going to go in the future? I don't know. And I don't think Bonneville Power Administration knows either. It's going to create more and more problems on integrating that electricity into the grid system. Now, I talked with the CEO of PGE, it was probably about a year ago now, and he was talking about integrating it and knowing the capacity of our hydroelectric system is coming to an end. As far as integrating that power, they're going to have to start building natural gas power plants just to back up the power of wind turbines. So this is an odd way to look at it, but think about this. They have to keep the natural gas plant running at all times so that when the wind dies down, there's not a shortage of electricity, not a brownout like I saw in California back a few years ago. So they have to keep it in a thing called spinning reserve. Literally what it's like is like keeping your car idling in the driveway in neutral. So you're burning gasoline, but you're not actually generating power. As soon as the wind dies down, they flip the switch, it starts to generate electricity from natural gas turbines. And what that means is we're going to be creating 2 power plants, a wind farm and a natural gas facility, for the energy of 1, because we have green energy mandates, thus increasing the price even more. So I would say that the way that they're probably going to meet it is by backing up the wind energy in different forms, which would be additional power plants.
Well, the thing is that the wind industry already is.
Oh, they'll sue.
They're in the process of trying to sue Bonneville for not letting them on the grid.
Well, here's the complexity of it, and that's a good follow-up point, is that the wind energy developers get paid when they sell that electricity. And Bonneville's saying, we can't take your electricity anymore. So of course they're upset. They don't get the tax credits, the federal handouts, 2.1 cents per kilowatt hour produced. They don't get the state-based incentives when they're not actually selling that power. So the wind developers, wind farms, ones out of Spain, Iberdrola, and some others, will sue Bonneville Power Administration. And in the next few years, we're going to see exactly where those lawsuits go. I'm not sure where it's going to go. But I know it's going to be a tough battle in the next few years, and it'll be interesting and sad to watch all at the same time.
Who owns transmission lines?
Transmission lines are generally owned by Bonneville Power Administration, particularly in between the wind farms and regulating that power. But that creates a lot of complications as well, because every time they want to build a new wind farm, they're saying, well, we shouldn't have to build the power lines all the way out to a rural location. So it's a difficult battle on the transmission as well.
How do you plan to let them know exactly how you're doing this? Do you attack just bills? That's the way you do it? Then you'll never reach your goal.
Yeah, well, ultimately we also have to look at Cascade, and I understand the political palatability of certain movements as far as, I guess, pulling back restrictive energy policies.
Well,
I know I'm not going to repeal.
35 years.
Oh yeah, I know I'm not going to repeal renewable portfolio standards tomorrow. I know that for a fact. So what we'll do is we'll do little tweaks to it. We'll reform it. One of the bills that came up this session was to include energy efficiency into the renewable portfolio standards, which I would like to see it repealed, but it would lower the cost. Another one